everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Chase Sapphire brand, and my name is Arya.
My name's Ryan.
My name's Luke.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Logan.
And I'm Nick.
So to get things started real quick, I'm going to talk briefly about the credit card industry as a whole. It's a very broad industry. There are projected to be over 1.25 billion credit cards that are going to be in circulation by 2023. And there are estimated to be 193 million cardholders in the United States alone by 2023 as well, which is a large amount of people to service in such a big industry. On average, consumers carry about 2.35 cards in their wallets, with 14% of consumers actually having over 7 cards in their wallets. Consumers often double dip in many different markets and brands, but the important thing here is that typically consumers only use one card for a majority of their purchases, typically called the top of wallet card. So brands are constantly fighting to be the top of wallet card. The market share of major credit cards in the US is dominated by 6 main groups. Chase, which is the company we're going to be talking about today, as of quarter 4 of 2016, was the majority market shareholder and was closely followed by American Express and several others. Now, not all credit cards are built the same in the landscape. Credit cards typically vary in their annual fee. It can go anywhere from absolutely nothing to well over $500, depending on the market they want to target and the rewards that they want to offer. Now, speaking about rewards, credit cards often vary on the rewards that they do offer, whether it be free things or cash back that they offer, or certain experiences or airfares, things like that. APR, credit line creditworthiness also vary depending on what the consumer is looking for in the card. Now, in 2009, this is what set up our case. Chase split their brand of credit cards into 5 sub-brands. These being JP Morgan Inc., Chase Freedom, Slate, and the one we're going to be talking about today is Chase Sapphire. Each of these brands targeted a different sector of consumers, and Chase Sapphire is unique in what the group that they targeted. So Chase Sapphire was targeting affluent and high-spending consumers who had a high net worth and high capability to spend money, and they were really going after the groups that wanted to be able to use their card to get certain things like experiences rather than cash back. We'll go into that further later on, but also the Chase Sapphire cards offered a lot of travel and perks such as experiences, like I said, and it had a certain tangibility to it that a lot of other cards didn't offer. The card itself was metallic and had a very distinct feel to it, which was a huge selling point for it as well. They offered a reactive and expedient customer service where their goal was to have a real person talking to any consumer who needed help within seconds. And they had multiple different cards for multiple different experiences that they offered as well. Originally, there was the Chase Sapphire and Sapphire Preferred, which again varied in the experiences that they offered. Chase Sapphire was more of a entry-level card with a $0 annual fee and offered minimal perks, whereas Sapphire Preferred was a little bit more expensive for the annual fee, but it offered a lot more perks for those who wanted it. And then Sapphire Reserve was launched well after the Preferred and the original Sapphire card. And the goals of the Reserve were to capture more of the affluent and high spending segments and become the more or less top of the wallet card, like I mentioned earlier. They offered unmatched and unique experiences and rewards, including what was branded as the Chase experiences, which were unique and exclusive events that were only available to Chase Sapphire cardholders. The card itself had a $450 annual fee, which is very steep, but it was meant to capture those who were willing to spend it to reap the rewards, which would well pay off the fee you had to pay. There were many travel and experiences benefits offered to the consumers who used the card, and there was a massive sign-on bonus of 100,000 points initially, which was huge for any card. And many sought to receive the sign-on bonus and looked into Chase Sapphire Reserve because of the sign-on bonus alone. So initially, Chase Sapphire Reserve was advertised using influencers instead of traditional marketing like television or newspaper or other ads like that. They signed on different influencers like Chrissy Teigen and James Corden to advertise their brand, which hit a lot of the millennials and target groups they wanted to target with this.
Enough. Dude, be careful.
To go in a little bit more in detail in terms of the target market that the Chase Sapphire brand was trying to reach, it's a pretty simple group. Basically, they were targeting the generation known as the millennials. Essentially, those are people that were around the age of 20 to 35 at the time of the launch. What's kind of unique about them is they were essentially the first generation to sort of grow up alongside of the digital media movement. And so given that as they were going into adulthood, as companies like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram were gaining more popularity, they, along with it, began having a real heavy digital presence. And a lot of their time was spent on social media, looking at social media, posting, things of that nature, and getting a lot of information from those sources, as opposed to the news or things like that older generations were. They also rely heavily on word of mouth. So if there are people in their life or even like celebrities that they really enjoy, that they follow, if those people say something about a specific brand, they are more likely to inquire about that brand and be more susceptible to partaking in that brand. Additionally, sort of along with how the digital media movement sort of, I guess, revolutionized the world, allowing things to be at your fingertips and allowing people to get any information they want at any moment. This group of millennials, they also began to prefer instant response and instant gratification. So they didn't want to wait for things. They wanted to basically just have everything when they wanted it, where they wanted it, etc. Additionally, they also value frugality and the ability to save money. They're more likely to switch brands, so they aren't necessarily as loyal as, say, their parents would be, where they've been with a certain company for X amount of years, so they're going to stick with them because they're more comfortable and they know and they trust that company more. But this group is more likely to see an intriguing offer from a third party and is more likely to go out there and take advantage of that brand. Additionally, they also value experiences, which sort of bodes well with some of the offers of the card. They would enjoy using, say, all the extra points that they get on travel for like airfare or certain dining experiences or things of that nature. That sort of goes along with just their overall personality. They're more outgoing, risk-taking, and adventure-seeking. So they're not super concerned with staying in one place at a time. They like to get out, see the sights, and sort of take advantage of life.
From there, we kind of they noticed how their card was doing really well. And so then the competitors actually responded, and two competitors specifically, it was Amex and it was Citibank, who both realized that there was getting a lot of traction within this millennial group and target market. So they tried to copy or do the same thing that Chase Sapphire did. And so Amex responded with a new design that copied the Chase Sapphire card and used that metallic card as a foothold in consumers' minds, so that when they place down that card, they hear that clink, and it kind of reinforces that they're spending money and that they are influential and they have money. With that, the Amex card actually increased their sign-on bonus to 6,000 points. And at the same time, they increased their annual fee to $550. They increased the annual fee to $550 because they were using such an extensive amount of marketing, so that they needed some sort of set revenue that was coming in. So that's why they increased the annual fee. The results they saw from this was that their new accounts actually went up 13%. And of that 13% of growth, 35 of it was from millennials. So it was very successful, and it was a record year for their platinum card. So they did very well in that. Citibank changed their prestige card to a $75,000 sign-on bonus after customers spent $7,500 in their first 3 months. They didn't see as well of growth in this as Amex and Chase Sapphire did, but they did see some growth. This kind of shows that the best beats first, because after their launches of all these different programs, Chase Sapphire asked customers, and they were curious about what they kind of thought, like, is Amex better? Is Chase better? Is Citibank better? And across the board, customers were saying that they preferred using Chase Sapphire because it told a story. When you put that card down, you're not just seen as some rich person who's using an Amex, but you're actually interesting and someone wants to listen to you. You like to travel, you like to be abroad, those kind of things. So it was interesting to see that Amex was still considered the high influential, very rich, had all the money person, whereas Chase Sapphire was more the millennials card.
So after hearing the details of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, it wasn't hard to see why so many people became like obsessed with it. So looking at the creation of the Sapphire portfolio and specifically with the Reserve card, we believe that the research part or the process kind of bridged the JP Morgan Chase brand and the Sapphire brand together to make this cult-worthy card. And so Eileen Sarah headed the market research team that worked to uncover the core desires and needs of this new and unique target market. So just as Ryan mentioned some of the differentiations of millennials from other generations Chase has dealt with, the Sapphire Reserve card was designed with these differences in mind. So the rewards shifted to more of those experience in traveling. They reflected the lifestyles that millennials either seek or that they're currently living. And this is what the surface level of the card was meant to look like. And it definitely fit into the Sapphire brand of more of the innovation and modern kind of card. But the Reserve card went a little bit deeper than that. And so even the way that the customers receive rewards on the card was different. So Sarah also looked into how the specific market was spending their money, which ended up being mostly on travel and food. And so that's what Chase chose to make those purchases that will gain them the most points back. And so travel can be as big as like buying an airplane ticket, but also could look like getting an Uber to go downtown and eat with some friends. And so they really wanted their customers to get the most out of the card. And so that's why they chose to get those points back for in the most way. And then the design of the card was also keeping millennials in mind, as it was simpler than other companies. So it took off like distracting numbers and letters from the front, and then they used a metal alloy to make the cards, as Aria mentioned, instead of the plastic, that made a physical, sturdier card that in turn kind of created this more significant and the tangible aspect of the product that they were having. They also found that millennials didn't want something flashy or busy, and by saying and having less on the card, Chase was actually able to make more of a statement with it. And then the Sapphire Reserve card also carried the same customer focus as its parent brand's goals. And so every customer that called in would be directed straight to a human to get either the problem fixed or their questions answered. This added more of a personability to the process, as well as being able to fix those issues a lot quicker than other companies. And then they also had the Ultimate Rewards app that allows customers to manage rewards, their offers, and their redemptions right from their phone. And so this creates a simple and transparent use of their own card so that the rewards, as they changed or increased or became more complex, their customers would have a single place to make it easier. Chase found whenever they were doing this research that that was a big fail point for other banks. And so they wanted to make sure that they were able to have that, simplify that and be as transparent as possible. That really fit into the big overall Chase brand of transparency. So all of these things have given the Reserve card brand associations, such as it understands me, it understands why I travel, it's more contemporary and not my father's card. And so the Reserve card values the transparent and customer-focused way of doing business, just as all of the JP Morgan Chase cards do, but then it also values the innovation and the experience lifestyles of the Sapphire brand that allows its customers to pursue. And then with keeping JP Morgan Chase brand at the center of this card, while also doing a whole 360 design around the entire millennial target market, Chase was able to create a cohesive product for the company as a whole and the Sapphire brand, while still keeping that Reserve card slightly different by having those points go directly towards what the millennials are actually wanting to purchase. So next, Logan will talk about the acquisition and the retention of the Reserve card itself.
Chase Sapphire was so successful in acquiring and retaining customers within its original target market of the millennials because of their strong acquisition onboarding phases. Their points-based structure provided an incentive to the millennials that are referred to as the points junkies. With this initial sign-on bonus of 100,000 points, this almost gamification of the customer jumpstart on rewards was very attractive to their target market and added to their offering equity while it differentiated itself from other rewards-focused credit cards. The points could be redeemed for experiences that are very valuable to their target market and also promoted the use of the card during experiences themselves. For an example, they could earn double points at hotels, airlines, and restaurants. The sign-on features were so effective that Chase had to pivot their strategy after a year because they couldn't afford to keep the 100,000 point sign-on bonus because they were losing money. Chase was successful in retaining these customers despite the card having an annual fee of $450, but the perceived value by the target market made the renewals very successful. Chase's strategy was to make the initial marketing investment and reap the benefits over an average of 7 years based on research conducted by the firm. The retention strategy was to allow the customer to develop relationships within the brand by changing how the card users interact with the card through their point structure and rewards. This will in turn be beneficial to Chase because of the relationship development will lead to an increase in the lifetime value of their customers. And then next, I'm going to talk about the Generation Z. And according to Josh.org, Generation Z is more financially savvy and more effective at living on a tighter budget because they were raised during the Great Recession. This means that likely fees charged by the credit cards are going to be more of a deterrent than the millennial generation. American Banker has conducted research in older segments of Generation Z that are currently becoming old enough to obtain a credit card. Their research suggests that Generation Z is more willing to use credit cards, and Chase refers to these cards as top of the wallet, meaning that they will be the go-to cards and spend more with them. These spending habits have thus outpaced millennials, with Gen Z holding over 10% more credit cards than preceding generations. Additionally, HubSpot.com has conducted research saying that Generation Z will place an even higher value on experiences than millennials, such as dining out, local excursions, and travel, which will relate directly to the point structure that Chase has with Sapphire. Currently, generation includes people born after the mid-1990s.
Pretty clear that Chase has been pretty successful so far with the millennial market. So the big question is kind of, will that transfer over into Gen Z? Like Logan was saying, Gen Z is quite different from the millennial generation. So, we do believe that the success will replicate to Gen Z, but there are a couple of changes that could be made to ensure the longevity of the program and kind of just maintain that sustainable competitive advantage long term. So the first one of those is reducing the annual card fees. So like Logan was saying, Gen Z is actually one of the more financially savvy generations. Actually, they're on track right now to become the most financially savvy one to date. So I think that'll kind of catch their eye initially. Being able to have a card that has either no annual fee or significantly less annual fee is definitely going to be more appealing to Generation Z than having a card with the $450 annual fee, for sure. So that's kind of one way to kind of draw them in. Pretty easy change to make, but that's one way to kind of make sure that this replicates across into the next generation. And the other change is revisiting the rewards offering to kind of just making sure that's the best they can be. We want a large portion of those to be experience-based. Like Logan was saying, Gen Z values experiences pretty much above all else. So, they would almost rather spend more money to have a good experience. So because of that, rewards could be anything from concerts to basketball games, plays, any of that kind of stuff, travel perks. Gen Z is much more likely to, place significant value on those experiences rather than tangible goods. So just making sure that, the rewards offerings continue to have experiences, and more so, they continue to stay culturally relevant, even with the times and stuff. Just making sure the things that Gen Z people are going to want to attend will kind of make sure that they're still attracted to the brand, and will continue, to kind of tell their friends about the Chase Sapphire card and get more people in the door. And then, Gen Z, like I said, does value experiences, and credit card programs should be no exception there. According to that Deloitte study, they value experiences kind of in all aspects of life. So whether it was in the workplace or at home, this is one easy way to tie that in kind of across the board there.
But I have never been more excited about a credit card launch than the Chase Sapphire Reserve.